Good morning, afternoon, or evening to all of you out there in Trekyards land. I'm your host, Captain Foley.
And I'm your other host, Commander Cockings. Welcome back, guys.
Today's episode is sponsored by William Graham because he donated to our Indiegogo campaign. So here you go, Will. And today we managed to get you a special treat for this episode. We got the designer of today's ship with us to talk about the process of designing her. We have Mr. Rick Sternbach, everyone. Welcome back, Rick. Great to have you join us. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So, looking forward to learning new insights and perspectives on a rather odd little ship from Star Trek Voyager, the USS Dauntless, NX-01-A, as seen in the Voyager episode Hope and Fear.
First off, I've got to say I'm thrilled we've finally got around to this ship, and doubly thrilled that we can talk to you about it, Rick, as Dauntless is one of my favourite sort of Trek designs. And to give you some information on the ship, the Dauntless is 204 metres long compared to Voyager's 344, has 7 decks compared to Voyager's 15, so quite a lot smaller, and if this had indeed been Voyager's golden ticket home, it would have been a really cramped trip.
So as many of you or viewers may or may not know, with Voyager being the last show in the 24th century and Rick being the senior illustrator for Voyager, he designed the furthest, most advanced ships in terms of Federation design aesthetics.
So after First Contact and the Design Enterprise E in 1996, he went and designed the USS Prometheus in 1998. And these are the release dates, and these are actually the design dates. The Equinox in 1999. So these are the only later Federation designs, apart from Director's Enterprise J, but that's so far away and that's a fleeting glance. So I think it's fair to say that you, Rick, are the man on the cutting edge of Federation design. And this case it's the Dauntless, a ship seen in 1998 during the Series 4 finale. A Federation ship, or not, sleeker than anything we'd seen before, and theoretically designed after everything we've seen in latter Trek. So simple question, how does it feel to be the designer of the most advanced ships in Starfleet history?
I feel like Bruce Willis in Fifth Element. Amazing. Or thrilled. All the ships in Voyager, were yes. There you go. Yes. No, lots of fun. Every time one of these new ships came up in a script, it was it was a great chance to doodle up some shapes. Find out what was in the writers' heads about the design. Now we know, of course, the Dauntless is supposed to be a future Federation ship, but as we know in the story, it was worked up by the alien. Oh my God,
Arcturus.
Yep.
Huh? Arcturus. Yes. I suspect that, from whatever hacking he was able to do, whatever information he was able to get from Voyager, extrapolating Starfleet design into some new crazy, slipstream kind of a ship was probably real easy for him. I have not a clue how he was able to actually get it built, but boy, that would have been a nice little ship to mass produce.
Well, yeah, a Federation starship in appearance, like you said, but in fact, a ship built by Species 116, which used particle synthesis, so not holograms, to mimic a Federation starship. So let's go back to Voyager Season 4, because Samuel just said Series 4, which confuses a lot of Americans out there. Can you maybe tell us a little about the description of this ship that you received in the script, and just a little behind-the-scenes info on exactly how much direction you usually received when coming up with the ship of the week? Was it usually pretty generic, like insert ship here, or did they ever say that they needed a certain look or feature that may later become the Achilles heel or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't recall exactly what description was in the script, but it was probably words like smaller and sleeker and more advanced than Voyager. Voyager itself is in hindsight, it's really taking a lot of the Enterprise D style and just shaping it into something smaller. Same basic hull color, deflector grid, phasers, all of the basic parts You could strip right off of the Enterprise D and lay them down in a different, you know, on a different ship. Prometheus and Equinox, of course, cue the models. You know, those two gave me a chance to really push the design a bit past Voyager. You know, the Advanced Starship Design Bureau, you know, to my way of thinking, is always busy, always turning out new designs. And if you know, if the script said that the Dauntless needed to be, you know, a more advanced vehicle, also keeping some of the recognizable parts, I wanted to kind of you know, submerge the bridge level, or just, you know, just erase it. They wanted a bridge on top. You know, I took a lot of those, you know, those basic stylistic elements and just added them to a sleeker, more organic shape. I doodled. I love, you know, I doodled during production meetings. So that's, you know, that's why you see lots of these little pen and ink doodles before I get to more of a clean pen and ink style. The views that I did of the ship, you know, got faxed or emailed off to the visual effects guys. Some interpretation of some shape development was done in the CG model that you know, I thought was terrific. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't an exact copy of the sketches that I did, but, you know, within the CG model, within the polygon model, there were some very nice flowing elements. You know, you could tell it was a Starfleet ship. It had nacelles, but the nacelles were sleek, and they were you know, streamlined and blended into the rest of the body. So, you know, the final you know, the final product, you know, just totally fit the bill.
So you mentioned the 3D model. What was the actual turnaround time from the initial build a ship called Dauntless to the 3D model being fully built? And were you given any more time to develop the ship, given it being, well, it was a series finale or season finale, whichever one it is?
You know, I mean, these are details that are lost in the depths of time. A lot of times, visual effects had, you know, had anywhere from a few weeks to, I don't know, a month and a half to tear into these things. I mean, we did, you know, a few reruns during, you know, I mean, you pick a typical season. Every so often, we would have to do a couple of reruns just to give visual effects a chance to catch up, especially with, you know, a very complex episode with lots and lots of elements, lots of animation, you know, brand new ships. You know, this stuff took time. You know, a single ship like that, plus the you know, hyper wormhole drive effect. You know, I'm sure that took a number of weeks to finish up.
So this is a really interesting ship, as it was really kind of a chameleon ship that could look like anything, and yet you were asked to design something that looked Starfleet, but obviously something that would never be seen again or really necessarily have the correct Starfleet design aesthetic. Mm-hmm. So did you approach this as an alien ship shape first and then added Starfleet elements, or how did you go about doing that?
No, it was just taking a lot of that Starfleet, you know, a lot of that shorthand, and you know, a more advanced Starfleet ship. Okay, it became a more advanced Starfleet ship.
Was there any parts of the design that you knew you could push that, you know, Federation just would not go, or the you know, the writers and producers would not let you go, to be able to include in the design? Anything that was maybe a bit of a clue to how alien it was?
No, you know, maybe the only thing that could have said a little bit more alien was the sort of organic curves to it. But again, you know, it you know, in the story, it was built to fool Janeway and company, and that's what it did. You know, to me, it looked like a plausible Starfleet ship.
One thing that was never really talked about properly was the ship's other capabilities. We know about its slipstream and lack of other Federation amenities such as shuttlecraft, holodecks, or even a single replicator. When you designed her, what did you picture for her in terms of weapons or shielding? I can't see any visible phaser strips or torpedo tubes. So what did you imagine she might be capable of?
There's no phasers on it, really?
Not that.
Oh.
Well, we can see. No phaser strips.
We couldn't see any phaser strips.
The phaser strips are quite obvious.
Oh, all right. Well, when something is missing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay. When something is missing, the way the Star Trek universe is set up, okay, we are able to take matter and energy and do just about anything we want with it. Okay. Transporters, replicators, deflectors, all of this technology it's not exactly interchangeable, but it's all interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why, when fans talk about, well, the Oberth doesn't have, a main deflector dish. Well, then we think of other ways to do what it's supposed to do. All right. With something like Dauntless. Okay. Why not imagine that, like with the Enterprise, okay, when the Enterprise blasted energy through its dish, to save that poor planet, back there that had all the storms on it, and they wanted to clean up the atmosphere. In best of both worlds, when we used the deflector dish as a big weapon. Why not think of the Dauntless as being able to just surround itself with an energy bubble that is then directable? Okay, so you turn the entire surface of the ship into an emitter. Okay, so that's where the little techie things come in. Okay, well, it doesn't have a phaser strip. Well, it doesn't need it. There are always techie options, in science fiction.
There are always possibilities, Spock says.
There are always possibilities.
And this is what Trekyards is for. But when you were actually designing her, did you imagine roughly how powerful she could be in a firefight? What could she go against toe-to-toe? She's obviously a lot smaller than Voyager, but more advanced. Did you, even if you didn't necessarily design with weapons in mind, do you have a sense of how powerful?
No, that's those are all sorts of things that can come later. I think with a properly equipped Dauntless, that thing could probably whip Voyager's butt. No problem.
But what about your other advanced baby, the Prometheus? Making a children fight here. Rick.
That's 3-on-1. That's not fair.
Dauntless versus Prometheus. I don't know. That could be a tricky battle.
Interesting though.
Yeah, we've got to do that episode at some point, haven't we? So the real bait for this ship was the quantum slipstream drive, which channels power directly from the warp core into the main deflector, which is this big thing there, opening a subspace corridor similar to the transwarp corridors used by the Borg. So first, I want to ask, are those engines on either side of the actual secondary hull, are they warp engines? Does the ship have warp capacity, or are the nacelles still integral to the slipstream process, do you think?
I suspect that the warp nacelles are, they're good for warp. But, if you want to talk about, warp 20, warp 50, whatever the slipstream drive was supposedly capable of doing. I think the bottom line, the warp nacelles were probably good for plain old standard, warp 9.99999 and below. I don't know. I would have to try to get into Arturus's head to figure out, what was he thinking?
Cool. Well, now we're talking about the deflector. Of course, this ship has a rather large deflector array, unlike any we have seen before. It's more wrapped around and very integrated into the design. What is the idea of slipstream?
And it's blue.
How unique. Was the idea of slipstream given to you in the designing process, and at what point did you decide to design this part the way you did as a quantum slipstream drive?
Oh, the stylistic stuff comes first with just a little, a little bit of thought to, okay, well, visual effects is going to make this thing all glowy and do something interesting, and that's really way past my involvement with it. I gave them a place for the light to glow from, and they took it from there.
So a big part of this ship is its name. Did you name the ship, or was it already in the script? And if so,
no, it was a script thing.
So why Dauntless? That's a bit of an odd name.
I have not a clue.
Okay, question you might be able to answer then. This is controversial. Rick. So be prepared. Why NX-01-A? And did you design that? And does it mean the original Dauntless NX-01 was destroyed, or just what was Arcturus thinking with this convoluted thing?
I think that was the reg number that was in the script. This was way before Star Trek Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those little textual details, that's a writer question.
I know, but theorize, Rick. What happened to the Dauntless NX-01?
I think what happened was Arcturus read the Voyager memory banks, saw the NX-01 was the first Starfleet ship, and just put an A on it to, have that. I don't know.
The Kirk coolness.
That's my thought.
Well,
we couldn't call it Enterprise.
I don't know.
Arcturus didn't know that.
I don't know. No, I mean, why would he? Well, I mean, gosh, maybe he thought you guys. I tell you,
just theorize whatever you want, Rick.
Maybe he thought that this was like the start of a new construction cycle. Okay, where you start off with N experimental 01 and start over. Okay,
Well, it was first with the Slipstream drive, so that makes sense in a way. New construction contract, yeah.
If you say so. I mean, look what happened with American jet fighters. Okay, they got up to like the F-110, the F-111, and then they started over again. So the F-110 Phantom II became the F-4.
Yep.
All right, so they started the numbering cycle over again. I don't believe for a second that entered into the writers' minds, but you want to come up with a possibly plausible explanation, that would be mine.
Perfect.
Cool.
Well, as with all designs, you go through a number of sketches before the final one is chosen. Was there any earlier versions of the ship with details that you wish you could have been put into this ship that were changed at the request of the producers, but you really wish would have stayed intact? Perhaps a new sleek Shuttlebay, or even a different color to the hull, or anything like that?
No, I think the basic sleek bullet-shaped hull that I started doodling, sometimes again because of the episodic pressures, sometimes it's like, okay, this I keep doodling the same shape. There must be something that I'm thinking is going to work. And then I would, make the sketches a little bit bigger, add some details, give the CG guys, references. Okay, make this look like you did, back on, this other Starfleet ship. And by the time we got to Voyager, the effects folks, they knew the shorthand. Okay, in the CG and the physical models both. Because I could give Greg Jean, for example, just a quick little note on a blueprint. Hey, Greg, make this like you did before. And it happened. On a feature production, you'd have more time to flesh things out. With Dauntless, I took the design as far as I could. I'm not sure I would, alter anything or add anything to it. I think in one of those sketches, I really did want to submerge the bridge into that shell. But the whole idea of exposed, visible bridges in Star Trek, that's been something that the producers have called for since the early days. And I think a lot of that goes back to naval tradition. You see this structure and you know that there are people in there controlling things, and that's why you have exposed bridges on Starfleet ships. I think I think Andy Probert wanted to submerge the bridge on the Enterprise D. With Voyager, I didn't even give it a thought. They were building a bridge set, and we put that bridge right up on top.
Loud and proud.
And Dauntless has Dauntless has a blister on top, so it's yes, okay.
I think it better to look at the graphics beside us,
Yeah.
guys.
Although,
Just ignore his models.
you mentioned that, and I've got two sub questions which weren't in the script. So, first of all, why no Shuttlebay? Because there's a natural sort of incline, but how come no Shuttlebay?
It's supposed to be bare bones ship, right?
Well, shuttles are still an important part of.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not there. If that was a definite mention in dialogue, that's one thing. The surface of a ship like that, you could bury all sorts of things under the paneling. It's like I had no idea that the Defiant had all those escape pods. You don't get the clue from the surface.
Yeah.
So yes, we can go back and retrofit things, and think of plausible stuff that could be under those hull plates.
But I think, like you said, the script came first, so that's probably the reason for no Shuttlebay. And the second one I've got is that obviously these engines are quite a radical redesign. They've got the blue part, a secondary blue part, but no red basards. Was there a reason for losing that visual cue that all other Federation ships have?
I'm not sure I put Basard collectors on the doodles or not. Maybe the whole idea of the slipstream drive precluded being able to suck up interstellar matter.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Ace.
Cool. So Rick, while you were not part of the team that actually designed the interiors, the bridge and the engineering, as things in the design process should always have some visual continuity, the sleekness of the outer hull being represented in the interior. What was your thoughts on how they designed the bridge set and the engineering set?
Oh, I thought they were logical extensions of Starfleet design. I think I may have done one or two support sketches once the blueprints were drawn up. The writers and producers, we don't expect them to be able to read, construction blueprints. We will build foam core models, which are a big help, because then the director can look around and see his camera angles. Anytime the set designers and the production designer get into new sets like this, they talk with the director. They find out, okay, where do you want to move the camera? You want to catch some actors coming into a scene. Maybe the camera has to, maybe the crane has to come in. Maybe the camera dolly has to move up and not crash into a piece of the set. So that all gets worked into it. When they did the bridge set for Dauntless, I think the basic shape of it is kind of mimicked on the outside, which is exactly what I loved doing on Voyager, because you can see instantly you can see the outline of Janeway's writing room and conference lounge and the main bridge, and I think I echoed a little bit of that on the top of the Dauntless. The simplicity, the sleeker and simpler things look, the more futuristic they're supposed to be. So if you look at things like the Dauntless, the stand-up consoles, the lack of giant displays, all over the place. Yes, it tells you, oh, okay, this is a simpler design, less crew to run it. Not so many visual complications, and I think for what it needed to be, those two basic sets, turned out terrific.
So, Rick, if you had to pick something, what would be your favorite part or aspect of this ship?
Oh, I think the thing that the thing that I really like about Dauntless is the you know the sleekness of it, the you know the more organic style. You know, I know a lot of people love, you know, totally round saucers. You know, Starfleet ships have really taken on a number of new shapes, you know, in recent years. There's a lot of fan design out there that is just, you know, exploding. I like the fact that you know, Dauntless looks fast, and when you make something pointy and curvy and looking kind of like it can fly, you know, then, you know, that's something I'll go for.
But I think it's fair to say, you know, this sleekness, it needs to be this pointy to go through Slipstream. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a, you know, it's a quantum entanglement thing. So
Exactly.
And last off, you may or may not be aware that in fact the Dauntless was seen again in Star Trek Enterprise, in fact, during a scene set in the future on Enterprise J. We saw the Dauntless 3D model, in fact, zooming by the window with its very distinct shape and deflector dish. Pretty unmissable. This was in the Battle of Pricon 5, where Starfleet was trying to hold off the Sphere Builders. The battle took place in the 26th century, and since Voyager encountered the Dauntless in the 24th century, and of course it wasn't even a Federation ship. Did you know about this, Rick? And what do you think of Starfleet apparently designing more of these ships 200 years later?
I have not a.
They used Voyager sensor scans, obviously. I thought that's a great looking ship.
I have no words. I have no recollection of that. But you know, hey, the timelines have been so twisted up that, you know, nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Well, okay, that's it for this look at the USS Dauntless, a very cool and unique design in the world of Star Trek. So thank you, William Graham, for donating and asking us to do such a neat little ship. And I hope you enjoyed the fact that we got the designer himself to talk about it. A special Trekyards perk, if you will. Will? Pardon the pun. Get it? Will? No. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode and learned a lot. On behalf of us here at Trekyards, I would like to thank you, Rick, for joining us again and taking time out of your very busy schedule to share all of your very interesting stories and insights.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
We will, of course, be having more episodes with Rick down the Slipstream corridor, as it were. So keep checking back with us or watch past episodes with him by searching Trekyards on Google or on YouTube. Also, please visit Trekyards.com and give that donate button a click if you want to help us continue to bring you bigger and better shows. If you like the show, click the like and subscribe button, and please share this wherever you feel other Trekkies may enjoy it. And let's try to bring more people into the Trekyards family. So until next time, this is Captain Foley.
Commander Cockings and
me, Rick.
Wishing you a pleasant day today and a happy tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Right.